Good day everyone. From today we will continue the grammar lessons only in English. If you think this is a bit difficult for you to understand, please don't give up. Keep listening only in English, and at the end of the lesson go back to the Sinhala lesson, which the playlist is below this video. Go and listen to the Sinhala one again and come back to this, so that you will be immersed in the English language and you might, even without knowing, understand some words by and by as we go on. So if you have followed all the lessons in Sinhala, I invite you now on the same journey, but this time only in the English language. I will also, apart from the poem or the song that I used in the Sinhala lesson, add some more when I can, so that your exposure to English poetry, English songs, or when I say English songs, it's from the English speaking world, remember that, the exposure will make it more fun and entertaining, and you might start to have a liking to a different culture, all of which will help you in this language learning journey. Okay, so the first lesson is on requests, or making a command, or asking someone to do something. Now, this is a very dicey thing because there are various ways of asking people. You can command someone to do something. You can very politely say, "Can you please do this for me?" Because you must remember, language is not something out there which we can fit to any situation. Yes, we can, but not the same words and the phrases fit into every context. Context is where you are coming from, in which environment you are speaking, in which environment you are actually using the language. So when you make requests, especially when you ask people to do something, be very careful of how we choose the words to say that. I will, as usual, start with the poem, and for this I had chosen a very beautiful poem which I liked by Mary Elizabeth Fry. Again, here the authorship is controversial. They don't quite know whether she wrote this or not, but that doesn't concern us here. So the poem is, "Do not stand at my grave and weep. Do not stand at my grave and weep. I am not there. I do not sleep. I am 1,000 winds that blow. I am the diamond glints on snow. I am the sunlight on ripened grain. I am the gentle autumn rain. When you awaken in the morning's hush, I am the swift uplifting rush of quiet birds in circled flight. I am the soft stars that shine at night. Do not stand at my grave and cry. I am not there. I did not die." So this poem is someone who is imagining her death and telling the people who loved her, "Please, when I die, do not cry at my grave." Most of the the poems were written in the West, and most of the people there are Christians. And this was the Christian way of, honoring a body, is that they bury it on the ground and they have a grave, tombstones and grave. And so she's saying, when she dies, please don't cry because I am not there, right? And then she goes on to say where she will be. And when I teach you the present simple tense of the be verb, I'll teach you the grammar there. But she tells a list of beautiful things which actually make somebody quite not sad, quite happy, because she says, "I am not there. I do not sleep," because death is also called a long sleep. And she's saying, "No, I am not sleeping." And her descriptions are very mobile. It's the movements are there. "I am 1,000 winds that blow." I'm not sleeping, I'm blowing with the wind. I am the diamond glints on snow. I mean, if you have seen snow, which we don't have in Sri Lanka, but the Western people do, it's very white. And when the sunlight falls on them, they shine like diamonds, right? So she says, I am the diamond glints. She's using the word diamond as an adjective for the glint, the shine. I am the diamond glints on snow. And now this is familiar to us. I am the sunlight on ripened grain. Grain is things like paddy, wheat. Wheat is more familiar to that part of the world. So we have seen sunlight fall on paddy and it's a beautiful sight. Likewise, she's saying, I am that shine on the grain. I am the gentle autumn rain. Again, autumn is very specific to that area. They have seasons, spring, summer, autumn, winter, right? So in autumn, when there is rain, that's me. So she's saying, I've joined back to the world of nature. I've become the world, right? It's not very dissimilar to our Eastern philosophy either. If you take the Vedanta, you go back to, the universe. And then there's 4 lines together, 3 lines together. When you awaken in the morning's hush, when you get up in the quietness, morning's hush. I am the swift, uplifting rush of quiet birds in circled flight. She's actually, those 2 lines are connected. I am the movement of the birds that go up in the morning in circles. I am there, alive with them. And then she concludes by saying, do not stand at my grave and cry. I am not there. I did not die. Beautifully expressed, because it's not about somebody lying dead and still. It's somebody who has changed herself into the elements. She's with the flowers, the snow, the grain, and the birds, and says, please don't cry because I did not die. Okay? So that's the beauty of the poem. And the reason I chose this was the very first line is actually a request. A request in the negative. For example, if you just use the verb, it becomes like a command. For example, if I say stand, if I go to one of my classes and say stand, the students will get up. And I can say sit. So when you use the base form, now the infinitive is to stand, to sit, without saying to. If you just take the verb only, stand, sit, it becomes a command, right? And the negation of that is, you say stand, do not stand, don't stand. Sit, do not sit, don't sit. Do not become don't. So this is a poem that starts with a negative command. Do not stand at my grave and weep. Actually, 2 commands. Do not stand and do not weep. Don't cry. Don't stand there and cry. Don't stand there and cry. Because there's no reason to be sad. I am out in the world in every beautiful thing. So when you see something beautiful, think I am there. Right? So it's a negative command. Now, when I say command and request, what's the difference? A command is generally like the army can command people, stand at attention, right? Normally in social life, we do not command people very much. I mean, of course, parents do, come here, teachers do, sit down, right? But in normal social interactions, though this is called a command or a request, there are ways in which we make it more polite. Now, one of the ways is, the most common one which we can teach is, you can say please. Come, please come. The please makes it more polite. But I would say what is even better is not to make it a command, but a request by using a question form. Okay? The social way of actually making a command is to make it a question. Can you please come? Later I will do question form with you. I'm not doing the question form grammar here. I'm just telling you, though we say you make a request polite by putting please, sometimes even please send is not very polite. I have seen emails where I've been told please send the material, and I found it quite impolite, because you're actually making it even more polite if you make it a question. Can you please send the material tonight? Can you please give me that book? Please give me that book. It's better to say, can you please give me that book? So remember, in English, a request is much better if it is phrased as a question and not a command. Can you please show me your notes? Right? And again, there's always a difference in language between formality. If you're making a very formal request, say from somebody superior like your teacher, you can be even more formal. Would you mind giving me some advice? Would you mind giving me some help? Would you mind? So, the answer to that question is either yes or no, but that is actually a way of asking politely. Or if you're writing an email, I would really appreciate it if you send me some notes. I would really appreciate it if you send me some notes. So all these are requests, all these are commands, but they are phrased as sometimes questions or very long sentences. Because the more formal you are, I think sometimes the more words you use. I would be very grateful if you help me with some notes. I would be very grateful if you send me some books to refer. Do you understand? So when we say command is stand, sit, yes, that's a grammatical form, but in social contact, social interaction, things change a little bit. And a very good way to remember polite request is to make it a question. Can you please pass me that pen? Can you please give me that book? Not please give me that book, definitely give me that book is rude unless it's a very close friend. When you're in a very close relationship, it's okay to see, give me that, give me this, because they know it's made out of love, unless you're angry and having a fight. So remember the request. The grammatical form is, if you just use the base form, it becomes a request. It becomes a command, right? So as I said in my last video, I will also be giving you some exercises, and when my lesson is going on, I will freeze the lesson and put the exercises on. And the answers I will give in my Facebook page, the link which is below this. I will also try and give some answers in the comment section, because I realize some of you who have followed my Sinhala lessons are actually not on Facebook. So, this is the first lesson. Let's see how it goes. Answers will come on my Facebook, and also I will try to see whether I can put some in my comment section. So please subscribe to the channel and keep, so that you know when I have responded to you that the answers are there. As I said last week, please remember, I will probably not respond to you at one-to-one level. Definitely do not inbox anything. If there's anything you need to ask me, ask publicly in the comment section, preferably on my Facebook page, because sometimes I really don't go right below looking at the comments. But I will try to see whether I can do it, since I know some people are not on Facebook, right? Okay, so this is the lesson that I did in the Sinhala lesson 1 as well. But here I want to give you 2 more songs actually. The first one to show a different kind of English. Now in my second lesson, I'll be talking about literal and figurative language. I won't do that here, because this poem is full of figurative language. Not saying exactly a physical, literal thing, but saying things poetically. Let's go to that next week. Today I will give you another song which starts with a request, but it's important in this sense. It shows a different kind of English, and all the English that we are not used to now. This is a poem by Ben Jonson. Ben Jonson lived in during Shakespeare's time in the 17th century, 16th century, 17th century. He's a very famous playwright, and his song called To Celia is a song, and when it's songs, I can't repeat that in my YouTube channel. I have copyright problems. So what I will do is, like before, I will read you the words and I will put the song below in the comment section. And I would really advise you to listen to this, because here, for the first time in this series, I'll be introducing an opera style of singing. An opera style is a classical music style. Classical music has, like the piano where you play classical, it also has a singing style, which is normally the opera style. And remember, I always say this: if you are learning somebody else's language, you can really say that because English is now also ours. But if you are learning where it came from, it helps you to know a little bit about their culture. Because when you know about somebody else's culture, things don't seem so strange to you. You may not like the music, but you probably won't laugh at it. So understanding is always helpful when you try to understand a different culture, different language. And also empathy. You try to see it the way, you try to see what is important to that culture as well, without saying, what is this, right? So try to learn, try to open up your minds so that different cultures can influence you, both the East and the West. So this song, which I'm going to read, before I read it, please go down to the comment section and listen to the song and come back for the words, right? This is called To Celia, Ben Jonson, a very famous playwright. They say he was Shakespeare's senior. And William Shakespeare has actually supposed to have acted in some of his plays. And he was a very educated person, while Shakespeare was a completely, ordinary citizen who knew how to create art. And they say he did not like Shakespeare very much, but we don't know, because he's also supposed to have said when Shakespeare died, he was not of an age but of all ages, not just this our age. So it was the same period. To Celia, Ben Jonson. It's a love story. It's a love poem. And the reason I'm showing this is it shows Old English, one thing. Without saying you, it says thine. Without, dost. Without saying does, doth. I like you to see the differences of how English has moved from very, different form to what we have now, and it will keep moving. Because one thing about language is you can't say this is the language, protect it like that. That is a sure way of killing it. So English did this thing about, it changed with time. Now the WhatsApp texting language is something else altogether, right? So a language, for it to live, for it to develop, for it to evolve, needs to change. And this example I thought I'd give you in the very first lesson to show you what words were used during that time. They are still quite famous simply because Shakespeare also was during that time and his plays are still studied, right? So it's not that unfamiliar to those who study literature. Okay, To Celia, Ben Jonson. Drink to me only with thine eyes, and I will pledge with mine. Or leave a kiss within the cup, and I'll not ask for wine. The thirst that from the soul doth rise, doth ask a drink divine, but might I of Jove's nectar sup, I would not change for thine. I sent thee late a rosy wreath, not so much honouring thee as giving it a hope that there it could not withered be. But thou thereon didst only breathe, and sent'st it back to me, since when it grows and smells, I swear, not of itself but thee. Okay, now if you did not understand that, don't worry. Half of us don't understand it either, because it's a very old-fashioned English that was used. And I wanted to also show you the difference in sentiment, because now when we think of love poetry, we say it quite directly. But during those days, look at the first verse. Drink to me only with thine eyes. That's a command. That's a request. He says, drink to me. Like when people drink social, you can drink for someone and say, this is for you. Cheers. Right? And he says, drink to me only with thine eyes. With your eyes, drink to me, so that I will pledge with mine. I will look at you with my eyes and make a promise. So very subtle, because during those days you don't go out and hug people or kiss people in public. So he said, with your eyes, drink to me, and I will promise you back with mine. Or leave a kiss within the cup. Imagine if you are sharing a cup, if somebody is sipping something, it looks as if she's kissing the cup now. And he says, leave me that cup and I'll not ask for wine. That kiss is going to be so precious to me that I won't ask for any wine if you just sip something and leave that cup for me. The thirst that from the soul arise. So he's going with the same image of drinking, of being thirsty. Now he says, my soul, my whole being is thirsting for obviously her love. The thirst that from the soul doth rise, doth ask a drink divine. What is the soul asking? A drink divine. Divine means heavenly, from heaven. It's asking for a drink from heaven. And he says, but if he might I of Jove's nectar sup. Even if you were to give me Jove is supposed to be the king of gods, right? If you were to give me the king of gods nectar, the wine, I would not change for thine. I would still prefer your wine, the cup that you had a sip from. So he's saying, I prefer the cup that your lips touch than anything else even the king of gods can give me. And the second verse is a bit sad, because he sends a rose to this girl, this woman he loves, hoping that it will always be with the woman, right? But she just smelt it and sent it back to him. So I think within that social context, if a woman returns a rose, that means she's not interested, right? And then he's very sad, and he says, from that day onwards, every time when a rose grows and I smell a rose, now it doesn't smell like a rose, it smells like you. Quite sad. I sent you recently a rosy wreath, a wreath made out of roses, not so much honoring thee as giving it a hope that there it could not withered be, that you will always have that rose or his love without making it old, that she'll always cherish that. But what happened? Thou thereon, Old English, don't worry, didst only breathe and sensed it back to me. Now in normal English you say sent it back. Now sensed it back to me. And since when it grows and smells, I swear, I promise myself, this is the only smell I get is not of the rose but of you. Okay, so go back to the song, a very beautiful melody, normally sung in opera style, normally not sung in normal style. The reason I did it was to show you two things. One is Old English, so don't worry about learning it. It's not being used anymore, but to show you that language moves. It's even now moving. There are some words which are in the cyber world with texting which I don't understand. My children do, because it's moving so fast now with the WhatsApp and the TikToks and all that. New words are coming in. This is Shakespeare's times English, so I wanted you to have a look. Also for you to listen to that opera kind of singing, so that you're familiar with the different styles of music, which I want to also show within my language series. And the last song that I will show you is from the pop world. Quite different, still a love song, right, by a group called Bee Gees. Again, go down to my comment section or just go to YouTube and type Don't Forget to Remember. Don't forget to remember. And the group is Bee Gees, and you'll get this song. So listen to that and come back so that I can read this now. And here again the chorus. The chorus means the repeated verse is a request. And it's a beautiful request because it's kind of a double request. She said, don't forget to remember me. Obviously they are parting. He's very sad, right? And she's going away, and this boy is saying, I'm only asking you to do one thing. Don't forget to do what? To remember me. Don't forget to remember. So forget means it's a command. Negative command would be do not forget. Don't forget. And don't forget what? To remember. Okay, so the words of this song, don't forget to remember. Oh, my heart won't believe that you have left me. Someone has gone and he says, my heart doesn't quite believe. I can't believe that you have gone. I keep telling myself that it's true. And he is trying to convince himself. What is he trying to convince himself? I can get over anything you want, my love. Right? He says, anything I can handle, but I can't get myself over you. I can't get myself over you means, over means above something, but it's a phrase. I can't get myself over this problem means handle it. I can't handle it, right? I can't get myself over you. I can't consider you finished. I can't close that chapter, right? So remember that phrase. I can tell someone, don't fight over this, right? You must move over this problem. So over this means this issue. So he says, I can get over anything you want, my love. Anything you ask me to get over, I will. But I can't get myself over you. But I can't get myself, I can't forget you. Then the chorus, don't forget to remember me and the love that used to be. Used to be, again, I will do a separate grammar lesson. Don't forget that to remember me when you're gone, and the love that used to be among the two of us. I still remember you. I love you. In my heart lies a memory to tell the stars above. Don't forget to remember me, my love. He still calls her my love. So she's leaving and he says, please, I'm telling you, the stars above, right? In my heart lies a memory. I'm holding it to tell the stars above, to tell the sky, to tell the whole world. Don't forget to remember me, my love. Because he says, my memories are not to be forgotten. I can even tell the stars about it, right? So the last verse there. On the wall lies a photograph of you, girl. And even in the wall, he hasn't taken away the photographs yet. Though I try to forget you somehow. Like even there's a photograph of you on the wall, and even though I'm trying to forget you, you're the mirror of my soul. You're the mirror of my soul is whatever I am, you are as well. They have connected so closely. You're the mirror of my soul. So take me out of my hole. That's not quite poetic, but when you're in a hole, you're depressed, you're stuck, you can't move, right? So he's saying, please take me out of my hole. Let me live again. Take me out of the place I am in now. A hole is a very cramped thing. Let me try to go on living right now. Please take me out of this hole, this depression I am in, so that I can try to go on living. Okay. Listen to the song. Bee Gees was very popular. I think two of them, not sure whether all of them died. When I was growing up, this was a very popular group. When you put Bee Gees, there'll be other songs. Please listen to them. They're very musical, good harmony, nice singing. So I wanted to end my request lesson there because all these three songs that I picked, one was a poet, had a request, right? The middle one was very old English, but people have not changed much from then to now. So the love songs will always live. I gave you old one and ending with a new one. have a look at everything and making request. I'll be putting the exercises I would have put through my throughout this lesson, and when I have done that, please, if you try to answer at home and see when I put the answers on my FB or my comments page, see whether you have got them correct, right? So thank you for listening. This was all in English. I hope you did not give up. I hope you listened right through. Go back, it's on YouTube, so you can listen any amount you want. Go back to the Sinhala lesson if you didn't understand anything and see whether you can come back and listen. And we have about 50 lessons to go through. If you listen to them in English, even without your knowledge, you would have gained something simply by listening to English for a long time. So thank you very much. I'll see you next week.